We ask all listeners to gamble responsibly. All odds and tips mentioned in this podcast are personal opinions and used in reference to the Kindred brands. Welcome to game week 3 of the Kindred Kickoff podcast. We're joined with Louis, Niklas, and a new guest this week. We've got Craig from the CRM team. Craig, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do and obviously what you bring to the table?
Yeah, I think it's already been said before, but I'm a Palace fan. I've been at Kindred 6 years in the retention marketing team now, actually, not the CRM team anymore. We are the retentioning team. But yeah, not quite as long as some of the people on the pod. They're part of the furniture at Kindred, but I feel like I've been a face around here a little bit. But yeah, I'm just here to offer some insights, not just Palace insights as well. I've seen all the games from last week. Got a couple of tips for this week coming up, and I'm just glad to be part of the pod, chaps.
Brilliant. Niklas is joining online again. Niklas, how you doing? Stockholm, what's Stockholm saying?
I'm actually not in Stockholm this week, mate. I'm in Malta.
Oh, well, there you go.
Different town.
Close enough, son, right?
Yeah, same country.
Malmo's the bigger team.
I'm not really a fan of that team. I'm a fan of their main rivals. Me being in Sweden is always a shit show anyway.
We will kick right off. Obviously, last week we saw not too many surprises in the results. Obviously, we saw Nottingham Forest play Sheffield United. We saw a last-minute goal for Nottingham Forest. We said it was going to be a 6-pointer. What did you boys think of the game?
Well, I think we all predicted a Forest win, right?
Yeah.
So,
100%, yeah.
So that was in. Probably not as comfortable as we thought, but yeah, I was still pretty much favourite Sheffield United for relegation this season.
First half, I think they had one attempt on goal, and I watched them play against Palace the week before that, and they made us look good. We had 16, 17 attempts on target, which is unlike a Roy Hodgson side. Sheffield United are in big trouble, and I think you guys said it on the pod recently that they could finish rock bottom.
Yeah.
I see that happening. I see Luton finishing 19th. They just don't have a goal threat compared to Forest.
I think a lot of the teams down there are really suffering with the goal, with anything up front. Really, if you look at the teams that we've tipped for relegation, none of them have got really top goal scorers that you can say, okay, they can nick 10 to 15 league goals a season, or even 5 league goals a season. You know?
It's a bit like Southampton last year. You just got no goal threat whatsoever, and if you can't score goals, then you're going to struggle.
You're banging trouble, yeah.
Even that leap from the Championship to the Premier League, we saw how many players come up from the Championship that had scored a hatful of goals in the Championship and then couldn't quite make the grade Premier League level.
Ebanks
Blake. Cameron Jerome always sticks out for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's a fine line between being a good Championship striker and a decent Premier League striker. The next game was obviously postponed, which was Luton-Burnley. That was cancelled due to Luton's pitch problems. So we'll skip ahead to Liverpool-Bournemouth. We saw a red card which has now been overturned for McAllister. Louis, you're our resident Liverpool.
They started shaky again, Liverpool. I mean, they looked really poor at the start. I think they had a goal disallowed as well. Yeah. So
Trent's back pass.
I did. So really poor, shaky start. I think they looked actually better with 10 men than they did with 11. But yeah, I think it's going to be Liverpool this season. They look great going forwards, but defensively very shaky. Maybe they bring someone in towards the end of the window, and be exciting to see how Endo gets into the team. He obviously wasn't the first choice. So
does he remind you of the Brendan Rodgers Liverpool team a little bit?
100%.
Where score 4, concede 3 mentality. Yeah.
That's the vibe I get.
But you're not going to win leagues like that.
No, of course not.
No, to be honest, I know we mentioned, I think you tipped Liverpool to finish in the top 4, but when I think the squad it was quite thin last year, but then they've also lost a lot of depth this year. And then when you couple that with Europa League, that's going to be quite a slog.
I'm not so worried. I think Europa League will probably benefit the bench players more than a Champions League would, because Champions League you almost need to play your first 11 every time. I think the rest of the team is more than good enough to be in the top 4. I don't think we'll challenge, but top 4.
Yeah. Niklas, anything to add?
I was the one tipping Liverpool at second. Not sure about that anymore.
It's still very early on. I've seen a lot of people already get carried away with whether they're positive results or negative results. I've had other people messaging me about United all weekend, crisis and all that, and it's 2 games in. I think people need to take a bit of a step back and let the season flow a bit more.
Quick word on Bournemouth though. Do we reckon they'll be safe this year?
They'll be good.
I think they'll be all right.
Yeah.
I just think there's teams worse.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just think there's teams worse than Bournemouth at the minute. Nicholas, is there anything from your side that can you see him being all right?
I agree with you, but I did tip Bournemouth to go down, and if I have to stick to one of the 2 teams here, whether Liverpool being second or Bournemouth going down, I'd be more comfortable with my Bournemouth going down, to be honest.
But they've got like Tyler Adams come in now as well. That's a major improvement.
Goals.
And they got Alex Scott, who's coming back from injury, who was bright spark in the Championship last couple of years. I think they'll be all right.
Again, I feel like they're a team not playing above their means, because obviously they did really well last season with what I would consider a Championship level squad. So they need another season where they completely play out their skin and make the most of their home games. The next game was Wolves-Brighton. So we went from Wolves looking like prime 1970s Brazil against Man United to basically looking fairly ordinary against Brighton. Brighton look brilliant at the minute. Again, Deserby's done really well with what he has. How did you guys see it? We didn't really predict too much different, did we? There was another red card in that as well.
Yeah, it pains me to say it, being a Palace fan, that Brighton are just carrying on that form from last season, but they are so good to watch. I have to say that myself as a Palace fan. Kudos to them, the players that they buy, the way they recruit, they're playing as a team, they're playing for the manager. They just look like they're going to score every time they go through, and their expected goals, I think every game is 3s. They're scoring 3 or 4 goals. It's just a joy to watch, and like I say, it does pain me being a Palace fan to say that, but you can't deny that they're a good side, they're in form, and they just carried on that form from last season.
And they don't look bad defensively.
Not
so
at
like
all.
they look
Exactly.
amazing going forwards,
Yeah.
but they're actually quite solid as well.
They
So
can
that's
keep a clean sheet indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds.
What you touched on there, the reason I've got a lot of respect for the Brightons and the Brentfords of this world is that they've done it without extravagant spending, and they've done it through scouting players properly.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot more time for that than I don't want to include Newcastle in this, the Man Cities of this world, where not anymore, but obviously when they first won the lottery, they went a bit mad, didn't they?
and the Wolves are so rubbish. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
Wolves,
lot of us predicted them to go down, and I don't see that being any different now. They can't score goals as well. So.
we literally made them look like prime. The way they were pressing, I was like, geez, this look all right. It was just, we were terrible.
Yeah.
Anything from your
I
side,
think
Nick?
On the XG, I read that reached the highest XG non-pens since De Zerbi took charge of the team, 1st of October 22. Out XG in Man City and the likes. So that is enormous kudos to him for his way of managing this team. They have, and they still lack, I think, that Pounds are up front to convert the easy chances, but they look absolute quality as a team.
That looks good for them.
Well,
I think he looks really sharp.
Ferguson, I thought if we weren't going to sign Højlund this year, I thought Ferguson would be a player that, historically, the type of player that Man United would go for. But obviously now we've got Højlund, so I can't see that one ever coming to fruition. But he looks a top player. He's only 19 years old. I will say, is under Potter, they had a huge XG every game as well.
Yeah.
They just weren't converting. So obviously De Zerbi's just fine-tuned that. He did have a good foundation to work with.
That's what happens when you have Neil Maupay playing
Yeah,
as a striker.
True. So again, speaking of Maupay, Brentford and Fulham, 3-0 Brentford, London derby, the first of 3 London derbies this week. Fulham also with a red card. I know Nicholas loves his red cards and bookings. Quite a few red cards this weekend.
5, wasn't there in total?
Yeah.
I saw something that if it continues this way, it's going to be like 114 red cards by the end of the season or something.
Well, to be fair, it did change the game, that red card in the Fulham-Brentford game. Fulham looked okay first half. I think, like I said, that red card changed everything.
And they gave away a goal as well.
Exactly. And I don't think it was a red card. We could debate that till the cows come home. It was 2 yellows. It was a bit...
I think it was a penny.
I don't even think it was a pen exactly, but he gave the pen, then he gave the yellow card, and I just thought, it's a little bit unfair. But it did change the game. But again, Brentford looked good. Can't take that away from them. They took their chances. They were clinical. I struggled to always say his name, Mbuemo.
Yeah.
That's how we say it.
He looks sharp, but I
He's
think
so
Wissa looks really good as a replacement for Tony.
Yeah, agreed.
He scored in both the opening games. He's good.
Yeah.
Tony is due back in January, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. It'll be an interesting development. You know, he could potentially get snapped up in the January transfer window. Moving on to Tottenham Man United. Yeah, over to me, eh? Niklas, do you want to kick this off and then I can go on a rant?
We're talking about the referees. That is the segue here, and then I'll come to the rest of it. But obviously, for me, we talked about the Stonewall pen that Wolves should have had against Man United. Mm-hmm. I think for me, it was a clear handball for Man United.
Yeah.
So it goes up and down, and it tends to even out during the course of the season. But in this case, it went against Man United. Apart from that midfield is shocking. It's unbelievably bad. I do not understand how you've got such quality players that Man United still have, with Casemiro, with Bruno, with Mason Mount, and they look like schoolboys. It's so easy to just walk past them. I think Bissouma had an outlandish performance. I think he bossed it. He bossed that midfield. That aside, it's just so bad. But I think
we saw the same with Nunez last week, right?
It turned into like a hybrid of JJ Okocha and Patrick Vieira out there. It was just amazing, wasn't it?
But
yeah.
I would say, though, with Man United, I think they have created a number of chances, which it's just so obvious that they don't have a goal scorer in that squad. And I think Rashford overperformed last year in that department. And I don't think he's very good as a number 9.
100%.
Yeah, I think kudos to Tottenham. For me, they're still a question mark. Are they the real deal?
The way that I've seen people bang on about Tottenham, a draw and a win, is as bad as some of the overreaction I've seen about United. What I will say is I think a lot of the issues stem from not having a proper number 9, and playing your best wide forward as a number 9. The wide players just didn't have any outlet. The midfielders didn't have any outlet. We still create. I think we've got the highest XG with the lowest amount of goals, including the bottom teams. Yeah, we need a presence up there. It's not just the goal scoring that we're missing. I think we're missing someone to hold the ball up, someone to drop deep when needed, someone to bring the wide players into the game. It's a bit of a mess at the moment, but I'm not quite worried yet.
You've got to wonder what they've done in pre-season, though, because the midfield looks all over the place.
But I said it last week, that midfield hadn't played together until the final game of pre-season. So obviously you're right to question it. But why did that midfield not get a proper run out in the pre-season? And we played Kobe Mainu in the majority of it, and he looked brilliant, and then he got injured. I don't know if he's obviously not the answer because he's 19 at the moment. But obviously we wanted to play a different way. Injuries are limiting us to that. We have actually got a ton of injuries as well, including the £60 million striker we've spent money on. I just think United fans need to hold tight a little bit and see what comes in the next few weeks. Obviously, we've got Arsenal in a couple of weeks, and I'm not looking forward to the group chat on that day. So we'll see. I think we'll wait until everyone's fit. And to be fair, Mason Mount is now injured. We'll see what we can throw up against Forest this week, and We'll come to that in a sec. I'm going to move on swiftly to Man City Newcastle.
Bit disappointing, really, wasn't it?
I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, just the one goal. I think someone predicted lots of goals last week on the pod.
That's probably Benji.
Yeah.
It was disappointing, really. Two teams that play free-flowing, expansive football, and it was quite a tight affair. Probably didn't help with the Super Cup hangover on last Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think City were a little bit tentative in that department, whether to really go for it at the start of the game, but I was a little bit bored sitting there watching it. I'm not going to lie, that was the one game I was looking forward to this weekend, and I was a little bit bored.
Newcastle didn't look themselves either.
No.
I expected a bit more of a tougher test for City, but Newcastle got Liverpool this week, and that's going to be a real test.
Yeah, but they play at home. That's
oh yeah, very different.
Yeah, I think when they play at home, they're such a good team. They have such support. Like they just get such a boost of energy from the crowd.
Yeah.
The City took them seriously on, what was it, Saturday.
8 o'clock kickoff it was.
They were you could tell they were really concentrated from the off. They really closed down Newcastle's midfielders as soon as they got the ball. Newcastle didn't really have any time on the ball at all. You could tell because they barely had a chance in the game. And when they had that one breakthrough, then Guardiola looks an absolute beast at the back there. So and caught up with Wilson, was it? So yeah.
I think it's fair to say, obviously, like I said, it's only 2 games in, but I think we can quite clearly see that City are the overwhelming favourites to retain the.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is they look a little bit thin at the minute, I'd say. With De Bruyne now being injured for a little while, and you could say the only real backup in that kind of creative midfield area is Foden. If he gets out of it or gets...
Foden
was really good.
He had a really good game.
I was having this discussion last week that we were saying that he's slipped off in the last sort of year to 18 months a little bit, and then obviously pulls out a performance like that.
I think this could be great for him. If he gets a run of games in that position, so he's not like pushed out to the wings or whatever, I think that could be really good for him.
Time to make it his own. Right?
Yeah.
In De Bruyne's absence.
And a brilliant goal from Alvarez as well.
Great goal.
Really good goal.
Haaland fire again.
He looks a bit sluggish. I know he scored 2 in the opening game, but he looks sluggish there as well, other than obviously taking the chances. But
people are slowly starting to transfer.
Been hanging out with Grealish all summer probably, and it's a bit of a hangover. But
he will pick up.
Yeah.
We're still expecting him to finish top goal scorer, aren't we?
Of course we are.
Okay, Villa Everton. God, what do we say about Everton?
Didn't see this game. I'm not going to lie, gents. Didn't really see this game, but I heard a lot about it. And
Everton awful,
struggling.
Pickford calamity again.
Yeah.
He got punished this time. Usually he gets away with it. This time he got punished. They got a pen. But Villa look good, obviously. But Everton.
We tipped Villa massively in the first pod, didn't we?
Yeah, I was so happy they won on the weekend because obviously they lost so heavily in the first game.
We needed that Villa win as much as Villa fans, I reckon. Anything from your side on this, Nicholas?
I think the only thing with Villa, and obviously, as you say, for us, this was important to not be eggs in our face. But I think for me, Watkins hasn't really fired on all cylinders yet.
True.
He's been a bit slow, but Diaby and Bailey, McGinn as well, they've really made up for it. I think like Douglas Luiz and Kamara in those holding positions as well. Great balance in the team.
So I think we can. It's fair to say that a few teams haven't been quick off the mark. Obviously, Man United being one of them, but it is just a cause of pre-season being coming off of the back of pre-season, not having.
I think it depends on what your expectation is, because I think that the Premier League, there's so much quality that if you don't kick off or kick on, then you're not going to challenge for a title, for example. I don't think United will be anywhere close to the title, for example.
Yeah, it's just one of those where you can't afford to drop too many points if you are in a title race. Realistically, how many points can you drop? 20?
Because City around Christmas time, they win 15 games in a row, and suddenly you're like...
They turn the heat on around that time, don't they?
In the business end. So one of the surprise results for this week, which none of us saw come in, was Chelsea-West Ham. Caicedo didn't look too good, did he?
Jonathan Woodgate debut.
One to forget indeed.
So yeah, that was obviously a surprise result.
But they were unlucky. I don't know, you can maybe call it unlucky but they have been wasting chances for a long time. But they are creating still. But yeah, no clear goal scorer really.
Yeah, Jackson. So I was saying this to one of the Chelsea fans in the office that Jackson looked really good in pre-season, and so did Mudryk as well. But it's all well and good looking good in pre-season when the pressure on the ball is at 50% and some players are walking around. I could look decent. We had the pre-season pillow at Man United a few years ago, Andreas Pereira, who looked brilliant every pre-season. You'd be, oh mate, this guy's a player, and then you see him when the Premier League really kicks off.
I miss it.
Yeah. So yeah, I always take that kind of stuff with a pinch of salt. But Chelsea still need that proper number 9, and obviously they planned to start the season with Nkunku, and he got injured, so he would have made a bit of a difference there, I think, in these tight games.
People calling for Lukaku back.
Oh, could you
imagine? Stick him in.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, is it? Could you? I think fans would be fuming.
On this one though, I must say that obviously James Ward-Prowse's right foot has already started to pay off. It's a want. I mean, he'll find anyone.
They'll
with
score
a
a
good
lot
pass.
of goals from dead ball situations this year.
Have we got?
And I think
have we got any odds on him on assists?
they'll be up.
So that might be a good shout, because obviously West Ham are pretty route one. Any Moyes team is pretty route one, and they're going to utilise any set piece they can. they've got the likes of Souček in there and Cameron Jerome and it's not Cameron Jerome, sorry.
Antonio.
Antonio, my apologies, in there. So they've got some decent headers of the ball. So that's a potential little tip from my side.
I think in this game, I must say that Lucas Paquetá, if he goes to Man City with a level of dark guards he's used it, he was an absolute shithouse master in this game.
He was.
He was
down
doing him under Pep. He would take so many tactical fouls. I'd be fuming every time I watched him. It's going to be unbearable for me.
Moving on to Palace Arsenal.
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Yep.
For a neutral, I reckon people will say Palace played well. Didn't do too bad. We was playing for a draw. It obviously looked like that from our first half performance. It took until they went down to 10 men for us to have a go. Because I think we had two attempts on goal in the first half. Second half, I think we had 12 or 13, and that was because of the 10 men. Personally, as a Palace fan, I didn't like the performance. We're at home. We've always got good home form, especially under Roy Hodgson. Mm-hmm. Take the game to Arsenal. It's a free hit for teams like Palace and in the lower half of the table. Against that top 6 sort of bracket, it's a free hit. Go for it. Use your attacking flair. Get some shots under. We've done nothing of that in the first half, and I was really disappointed. Second half, obviously, the game opened up slightly with the 10 men, which again was dubious for the 2 yellow cards. The first one for the time wasting, which, to be fair to him, he didn't really hold on the ball for that long. It was like 7 seconds. And the second one, I think he went down a little bit too soft. But that changed the game, but we still didn't look like we was ever going to score. We could have played for another 90, 180 minutes, and I don't think we would have scored. So we are again missing that number 9 who's going to get us 10, 15 goals a season, especially with Zaha. Well, we lost Zaha now, so his goals are valuable to us, and we need to replace that. But I was a little bit disappointed. I was talking on Twitter with a lot of Palace fans, and they were saying, no, it's a really good performance. It wasn't, though, in my eyes, because for what I said, never looked like scoring, haven't got that goal threat, and we could have played another 2 hours and I don't think we'd have scored. But it is against Arsenal, who were up there last year, so I've got to be a little bit realistic there.
I weren't very impressed with Arsenal, to be honest.
They've done a job.
On paper, it's one of them games where you don't play well, you get the 3 points, it's the mark of champions and all that cliche. I just think they looked a bit trepid, to be honest. I think they looked a bit slow on the ball, but they miss Jesus, I think.
Saliba looks good.
He played well.
Saliba's always
top
player.
Yeah, defensively they played really well. And I think, like Arteta said at the end of the game, he was like, I really enjoyed that win. Like you said there, Jem, it's like those 1-0s away from home on a Monday night, especially at Selhurst Park.
Oh yeah, you take it.
You bite someone's hand off for that win. Second game of the season. Yeah, that puts them in good stead now, especially when they've got Fulham at home this week, I believe. So
yeah, Fulham home, and then they've got us.
There we go.
Yeah, they want to rack up as many points as possible at the start, because obviously we saw them slip off at the end of last season. So
yeah,
we'll see what they've got this for the rest of the year. Chelsea Luton kicking off this week on Friday. So I know Niklas has a hat full of tips for this week.
I'm not touching this one though. I'm leaving this to Lou because I know he's got a very good bet here, as he said.
Me? Chelsea don't score a lot, but I've backed them -2 Asian handicap already. I just can't see any of the top 10 teams not scoring at least 2 or 3 goals at home against Luton this season. Yeah. They just look appalling. So it's as simple as that, really. I think Chelsea -2. If they win by 2, then you get your money back. Any more than you win.
That's a good little tip.
I just can't see them losing.
I'm really looking forward to the first trip to Luton, as in from the bigger teams. I'm really looking forward to it. This is what makes the Premier League different from Spain and Italy and Germany as well, to an extent, where you can get these clubs and it's just so rogue. You know, a couple of years ago we had, not long ago we had Stoke and teams like Sean Dyche's Burnley, and I love it. I think this is part of what makes English football brilliant. But yeah, enough about that for now.
I think Colton Morris had a shot on target though is good value, 2.4.
Yeah,
he had 4 shots in the opening game against Brighton. 2 of them were on target. Obviously, one from the penalty spot, which he slotted. But I think 2.4 for him to have a shot on target. Chelsea are playing quite expansive football at the moment. They look a little bit weak at the back. They're conceding a lot of chances. So that would be my value bet if you're looking for something a little bit alternative. Colton Morris, 2.4 to have a shot on target.
Nice one. And then we've got Bournemouth-Tottenham, the early game on Saturday.
Goals.
Could be anything, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be 3-3, could be 0-0, couldn't it?
Yeah, I've looked at both teams to score, but it's so low price
Yeah,
at like
it's no value.
157. I don't think
Yeah,
it's value, but yeah, that was the closest I saw. And then you saw like Maddison walk off with a boot last week,
yeah.
so question marks around him because he's been electric since he signed for
Yeah,
them.
he started well.
But if he's not playing, obviously, then who's gonna be the creator in the team? I don't know.
I think Spurs are around even money to win, aren't they? Just under.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good bet when you think about
Yeah.
it. Just beating United on a high, but obviously
Yeah.
without Madison.
Again,
I'd
I'd wanna see if he's
all
playing
about
or
that,
not, yeah.
Exactly.
No signings coming in either. They've not really been linked with anyone, have they?
No.
I think they've spent the Kane money, as in prior to him leaving. So we'll see how they fare. Another London derby this week. I think this is one for you, Craig. Brentford Palace.
Yeah, the last 4 times we faced each other, it's been a draw. I think the draw's paying 3.5 this weekend. For a little bit of spice, a bit of Nicholas Spice that you added last week. And you could do half-time draw, full-time draw, and that pays at around 9-2 at the moment, which is 5.5 for the decimal lovers. And that's been the same outcome in the last 4 times we've met. So since they've been promoted, I think it's been 1-1, twice a 0. So I see it being a draw again. That might just be me being confident at the moment that we can set up shop and try and nick a draw. Because
Yeah.
Brentford are playing much better football than us, I will be honest, and they look more deadly in front of goal. But I think if we go to Brighton and get a point, I'll be a happy Palace fan. So I think that's where my money will be this weekend, a draw.
Yeah, I think also looking at Eze in the first 2 games, his shots line is not up yet, but he had 8 in the opening game
I
and
know.
4 against Arsenal.
Yeah, averaging 6 a game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his line in the last game was 1.5, so if you get 1.5 or 2.5, that's an overbet for me.
He'll find the back of the net soon. People
but
are
just
already
to take
transferring him out of
shots,
their
I mean,
fantasy
opening
sides,
game
but-
was 8 shots, not
Yeah.
on target.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
look for the shots market, not the on target market.
Yeah. But then obviously Visso and Bremo again, they could both score.
Yeah.
I do think draw though. I think that's the value bet. I don't know if Nicholas has got anything in that one.
I had exactly the same thoughts.
Brilliant.
Perfect. We've got a clean sweep.
What should be 3-0 Brentford now?
Another London derby. They're coming thick and fast. Arsenal-Fulham, which we touched on earlier. It's Arsenal at home. Fulham haven't had the best start. Got to be Fulham. Almost got to be an Arsenal win.
Yeah.
Similar to you in this sense of the Asian handicap. I think Arsenal at home are formidable, aren't they? They score goals.
I think they'll be comfortable.
Yeah. Fulham just definitely lost Mitro now, haven't they? He's been sold,
Yeah, he's gone to Saudi.
And Team Ream probably be suspended for this one,
yeah.
so that's a big loss for them at the back.
Yeah. Nothing but an Arsenal win,
No.
personally.
Clean sweep, Nicholas.
For me, I agree with you, and I think my bet for this is Arsenal to win under 3.5 goals, and both teams to score no, which gives me a combined value or odds around 290, which I think I'll take that.
Yeah. Almost, yeah. That's a good shout. And then
Just quickly touching on Fulham, does anyone think they might be in a little bit of trouble this year?
I didn't think so at first, but now looking at them, I think they might be in a bit of trouble.
Agreed.
On that initial pod, the season review, we did say they massively overperformed last year, and I don't think none of us tipped them to go down, but I think they'll be in that dogfight.
Yeah, definitely.
Along with your Everton's, Wolves, Bournemouth will still be in and around that dogfight as well. Despite playing fairly well, I think they'll still be in there. And then obviously you've got the likes of Burnley as well that will potentially go down. So yeah, it's going to be a proper scrap this year. You can see 8 teams down there really battling it out, which we get every year. But I think when you drag in like the big teams, like we saw last year with Everton, Leicester, Southampton, it does really make you think, wow, this could be anyone again this year.
Yeah.
The 3 o'clock kickoff game, Man United, Nottingham Forest.
I think this could be more of a test for United than they're expecting. Because after seeing Forest after their first 2 games, with Awoni up top and Elanga when he comes on,
They look physical,
They do.
athletic.
they can score a goal, and I think both their goals against Sheffield United were pretty much carbon copies of each other. Aurier whipping the ball in from the right hand side. Now you'd expect the United defence to be able to deal with that aerial battle, but Awoni's on fire at the moment. And he knows where the goal is. He's picked up the form that he finished last season, and I think he's always going to score when he's in front of goal. So even though it looks like easy 3 points for United. I do think Forest could score and potentially give you a little bit of run for your money. I think they're 9-1 they're priced at to win. So.
I don't go into a lot of games thinking it's an easy game anymore. I think since about 2012, I don't think I've gone into a game thinking, yeah, it's an easy win that. What I will say is it would have been nice to see this experimental midfield three get a run out and try and get a bit of chemistry going, but unfortunately Mason Mount is injured, so I think that means Eriksen will come back into the team. Not unfortunately, Eriksen's a brilliant player, but I would have liked to have seen this midfield develop. I know that it's not looked great, but it's 2 games in. I think Ten Hag's not stupid. I think he knows that it's got to work somehow. Klopp wanted Mount in his team as well. I've seen Mount get a lot of stick in the last few weeks. Maybe because he's at Man United and the pressure's always on. Klopp and Arteta wanted him, and I don't think that he's a bad player as such. It's just how he fits into his team.
He's a good player. He just needs to find his place.
Yeah.
But I remember when he played for Chelsea, and the few times that he played in a deeper position, he always struggled there as well. So I think it's a bit of a challenge basically fitting him and Bruno at the same time. But
it takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it takes time.
Anything to add, Niklas?
Very similar to Craig. I think despite Man United being defeated at home for 30 games, I think this is going to be a test. But I can't really back Forest to win here because that would be like cheating on a loved one, and that's not going to happen. For me, I'm going for a bet builder, which both teams to score. I think that's going to happen. Forest to have over 2.5 shots on target. Man United have looked easily broken down, or they definitely conceded shots, and I think over 2.5 Forest corners, that gives me 360. But there is always a kicker, that little bit of extra spice. I also added Awani, or however you pronounce his name, sorry for the butchering of name, shot on target, and that gives me 525. If I add him as a goal scorer, that gives me 8. Him as a goal scorer is 4.4, and I think that's massive value.
Nice.
Been so impressed with him already this season and from last year.
Just a beast, isn't he?
He's so good.
Yeah.
That's what I want at Palace.
Yeah.
Everton Wolves. Cards galore.
Cards galore.
Unders.
Both of them get tons of cards. Both of them struggling.
Yeah.
Craig Pawson, the ref as well. I think he gave out the most cards in the league last year. I just think tons of cards. The Lions 5.5. It's quite high, but looking at the opening couple of weeks, maybe it's not that high. Individual players as well. I think Onana, Gay there's loads of players that you could pick in there that could get a card.
Overs on the cards, but unders on the goals, right?
Yeah.
So easily be a 0-0 this one.
And I don't know if Calvert-Lewin's playing after he looked like the Elephant Man after the last game.
I agree with you. I think one bit of stat I would like to throw out here to potentially add to some kind of bet, or just what to expect, because I agree with you. None of these teams seem capable of scoring goals, but then you look at Everton's defence, can they defend their own goal? That's the massive question mark. But
and both teams will be desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, a draw's not good for either of them.
This is arguably another 6-pointer, really.
Yeah.
You were saying about
Wolves
corners.
have had 5 and 7. Everton have had 6 and 10 corners in the first 2 games. They're just stacking up corners instead of goals. So whilst cards are expected, I think corners are somewhat overlooked when it comes to the odds. So I'll try something there. As for the result, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be a desperate find.
Yeah, good call.
Yep.
Moving on to the next game, which is Brighton West Ham, the 5:30 kickoff.
Yeah.
Listen, Brighton are playing well, I've already alluded to it, but for them to be 1.5 at home, do we think that's low?
I think that's a bit low.
Against West Ham that had just come off a back of result against Chelsea, and 1.5 to win at home I thought was a little bit
Yeah, it's quite
a little bit low.
I saw Solly March's 375 to score. He looks very sharp in the opening matches. Mitoma looks equally sharp, but he's 275. That would probably be my long shot value bet for the game. But yeah, I probably wouldn't touch the 1x2 or the handicaps.
No.
This forced me to turn on Spice Girls Spice Up Your Life when I conjured up this magnificent bet. I delved into the stats world and I found 4 players who I'm backing to have a shot on target with incredibly good knowledge and backup here. So, March to have over 1.5 shots on target. He's had 2 and 4 in the opening 2 games. Estupinian to have a shot on target. He's had 2 and 1. Bowen to have a shot on target. He's had 1 and 2. And Antonio to have a shot on target. He failed to hit the target first game, but he scored the last one. Those 4 give me 23 to have shots on target, and I'll probably find permutations of those. But this, for me, is where I'm going for it. This is my magic little sparkle of gold for the weekend.
I like it. What's the return on that as a bet builder?
23. Let's go.
23.
Oof.
Nice.
Stick that on your betting masters.
Stick that on there, yeah. I like that.
Milner also odds of 4 to get a card in the game. I'm just saying, if you're a holding midfielder or a right back in a team that's constantly on the front foot and you're going to be counted on, Milner's the guy that's going to hack someone down.
Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah, experienced. Yeah.
The next game for this weekend will be Sunday at 2 o'clock. Will be Sheffield United, Man City. I think that's going to be a very quick
Man City 3-0.
clean sweep from us.
Yeah, definitely.
Easy win.
City -2.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I think you can get that at 2.5, which is quite short to be fair. But you just like what you were saying earlier about Sheffield United, you can't see them scoring, so it's just a case of how many is City going to score.
I can see City being 3-0 up after the first half and then just passing the ball to death in the second half, just slowing it down.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Niklas has the same view here.
Yes.
Simple as that.
We'll move on to the next game, which is the Claret and Blue derby, Burnley Villa.
So we've only seen Burnley once so far, haven't we?
Yep.
So not really much to go by when they played against City.
Burnley at home as well.
Yeah.
They look confident on the ball.
Yeah.
They created quite a few chances against City. I don't know. I didn't look at the price, but maybe something like both teams to score or something like that would appeal. I haven't really found anything
That jumps out
noteworthy for the game.
No, neither. But I think I'd still slightly favour Villa.
Yeah.
Slightly, if we're looking at the
same.
1x2, I think slightly favour them. But it is a bit of a question mark about Burnley at the moment because you can't really go much on their first performance against Man City.
No.
Didn't play last weekend. So it's only their second game now.
And then we have Newcastle-Liverpool, which is my pick of the week for the games. Newcastle at home. Oh, this is one where I look at the Man United midfield and I wince. This is one where I look at the Liverpool midfield against Newcastle and I'm like, oh.
We got Endo.
Yeah, let's see what Endo's made of, eh? In line for a debut, do you reckon he'll start?
Yeah. I don't know. This Newcastle midfield looks really strong compared to
physically.
ours. I think, I don't know, I'd be tempted to look at Newcastle to score at least 2 goals or something in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool could still win that game 3-2 or something, but I just can't. I could see Newcastle maybe keeping a clean sheet. I can't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet against Newcastle.
Yeah, for sure.
I think also cards worth looking at again. I mean, all 3 midfielders got a yellow card for Newcastle in the last game.
Joelinton's going to be fit.
No, he might be out.
So he might be out. Depends who comes in.
Yeah, Sean Longstaff is not quite the same level, but
he could also get a booking.
He could also get a booking, of course. But Liverpool look really good going forward. So for there to be goals in the game, fairly certain.
Both teams to score.
Yeah.
Anything from your side, Nick?
I'll actually just enjoy the show for this one.
Yeah?
Yep.
Next week, obviously, we have a pick of some games to discuss. So we have Arsenal versus Man United. We also have Liverpool Villa, which is a good game to look at. We also have the closing of the summer transfer window. So that will be on Friday, 1st of September. So we will touch on any deadline day moves that we see coming or any potential tips that we see coming in towards the end of the transfer window. Obviously, thank you very much for joining me today, boys. And thank you very much to our guests for listening in. So join us next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.